My name is Natalie Rowan. I'm 36 years old. And I didn't understand how quietly a life could be judged until I realized I wasn't being rejected by one person. I was being evaluated by an entire family. I met Daniel Whitmore when I was 29. He was charming in an effortless way. Not performative, not loud. The kind of man who listened more than he spoke, who noticed small details and remembered them later. We met at a gallery opening through a mutual acquaintance. I was actually studying a piece, some abstract work I didn't fully understand, when he approached me. "I like that you're looking at the art instead of the room," he said. That should have told me everything. The first 18 months were easy. Too easy. We spent Saturdays wandering farmers markets, hiking local trails, finding dive bars with live music that never made it onto Instagram. He didn't act rich, didn't flaunt anything. He talked about wanting a simple life, about not being defined by his family's name. I believed him. When I met his family around month 8, I knew I was being assessed, but I thought I passed. His father shook my hand firmly and called me grounded. His mother smiled politely and asked about my work. His older sister, married into venture capital, looked me up and down with interest that felt professional, not personal. I didn't realize then that grounded was code. Daniel's family owned commercial real estate across 3 states. His father had inherited a portfolio and tripled it. His mother lived in a world of nonprofit boards and curated philanthropy. His sister had married strategically. His younger brother was being groomed to take over the business. And then there was me, self-employed consultant, state school educated, parents who were both teachers, comfortable, stable, respectable, but invisible in their social universe. The first year, they tolerated me. No hostility, just distance that never warmed. Then, around month 20, things shifted. His father began mentioning Emily Carter, Daniel's ex-girlfriend. "She's back in town," his father would say casually at dinner. "You remember Emily, very sharp, works in finance now." His mother would nod, his sister would smile. Daniel would change the subject. At first, Emily started appearing at family events, always polite, always composed, never competitive, but unmistakably present. His mother seated her next to Daniel at dinners. His father spoke to her about markets and investments while I sat quietly, holding my wine glass like an accessory. One night, after a particularly long dinner where I'd been ignored for 3 hours, I finally said it on the drive home. "They're pushing her on you." Daniel sighed. "I know, it's uncomfortable." "Have you asked them to stop?" "I've mentioned it." "That's not the same as setting a boundary." He went quiet. That was the first moment I realized something essential. I was fighting for us. He was hoping it would resolve itself. Over the next 6 months, the pressure intensified. His mother asked about my 5-year plan, my retirement strategy, whether I'd considered investment properties. His father questioned whether consulting was stable enough long-term. They weren't subtle. They were auditing me. Daniel began pulling away. Canceled plans. Slower replies. Distracted silences. I could feel the decision forming before he ever said it. And when he finally did, on a Thursday evening, sitting across from me in my apartment, I knew this conversation had been rehearsed by people who weren't in the room. "My parents are going to have a serious conversation with me this weekend," he said. "About us. About my future." "What are you going to tell them?" I asked. He looked down at his hands. "I don't know." That's when I understood. Not that he didn't love me, but that love, for him, was negotiable. He didn't say anything for a long time after that. The silence stretched in a way that felt intentional, like he was waiting for me to soften first, to reassure him, to offer something that would make his decision easier. "My parents are going to push hard," Daniel finally said. "They always do when they think something matters." "And what do you think matters?" I asked. He exhaled slowly. "They're going to make it about family loyalty, about stability, about what kind of future I'm setting myself up for. And they've made it clear," he continued, carefully choosing each word, "that staying with you complicates things." I felt something cold settle behind my ribs. Complicates how? "They've talked about restructuring certain trusts, reducing my role in family decisions, making it clear that if I choose you, I'm choosing against them." "So," I said quietly, "they're threatening you." He winced. "They'd say they're protecting me." "They're pressuring you," I corrected, "and it's working." He didn't argue. That was the moment everything shifted, from painful to clarifying. "I love you," he said suddenly, as if the words might fix the logic, "but I love my family too, and I can't lose them." "What kind of love requires you to lose yourself?" I asked. He rubbed his face, exhausted. "I don't know what I want anymore. I've been fighting them for months. Every family dinner turns into an interrogation. Every conversation becomes about your career, your background, whether this is sustainable. And what do you say when they do that? I try to redirect. I tell them you're smart, capable, independent. But not enough, I said. Not enough to stop them. He looked up at me then, eyes glossy. What do you want me to do? Start a war with my family? I want you to choose, I said, not hide behind exhaustion. That word, choose, hung between us like an accusation. I'm being realistic, he said after a beat. I can't cut my family out of my life. They're everything I've ever known. And I'm what? I asked. He didn't answer. That silence was louder than anything he could have said. So this is you giving up, I said. Not angrily, just stating a fact. I'm not giving up, he insisted. I'm acknowledging reality. Maybe they have a point. Maybe we're not compatible long term. There it was. Not I don't love you. Not I don't want you. Just you're inconvenient. I should have argued. Should have fought harder. Should have listed every way we worked, every plan we'd made, every quiet promise that didn't involve trust funds or last names. But I was tired. If you're looking for permission to leave, you have it, I said. I'm not going to beg you to choose me over your family. His head snapped up. That's it? You're not going to fight for us? What's the point? I asked. You've already decided. You're just here to make it official. He started crying then, real tears, told me I was being cold, that he'd hoped I'd give him a reason to stand up to them, that he needed me to fight harder. I've been fighting, I said quietly. I've been showing up, being respectful, trying to prove I'm worthy, and none of it mattered. They decided I wasn't good enough 2 years ago. He flinched. And if you need their approval before you can commit to me, I continued, then we were never going to work. He left that night. 2 days later, he texted me that he'd talked to his family and decided to give Emily a chance. That it wasn't about choosing money over love. It was about choosing a life where he didn't have to fight his family every day. I didn't respond. I blocked his number. And that was the moment my silence stopped being accidental and became strategic. The first month after the breakup was mechanical. I went to work. I answered emails. I slept when I was tired and woke up when the alarm went off. I didn't cry in public. I didn't stalk social media. I didn't ask mutual friends for updates. Instead, I planned. 6 months earlier, a former client had approached me about a partnership opportunity, building a specialized consulting firm focused on operational efficiency for mid-sized companies. I'd turned it down at the time. I was comfortable. I didn't want the stress. Now comfort felt like stagnation. I called him back. The opportunity was still there. We met, discussed equity, defined roles. I liquidated a portion of my investments to put capital in. We launched within 3 weeks. The work was brutal. 18-hour days. Weekends disappeared. I traveled constantly. Factories, offices, boardrooms that smelled like coffee and ambition. I embedded myself in problems the way I used to embed myself in relationships. Fully, obsessively. There was no time to think about Daniel, or Emily, or what I'd lost. Just systems to fix, processes to rebuild, results to deliver. 3 months in, we landed our first major client, a manufacturing company bleeding money due to supply chain failures. I spent 6 weeks inside their operation, mapping inefficiencies, implementing new workflows. The improvements were undeniable. They referred us to 2 more companies. By month 6, we had 8 clients. By month 9, we were profitable and turning away work because we couldn't scale fast enough. One afternoon, one of our consultants mentioned, casually, that Daniel had gotten engaged. 6 months after leaving me. To Emily. I waited for the pain. It didn't come. I nodded, thanked him for the update, and went back to reviewing a client proposal. That scared me more than heartbreak ever had. About 10 months after the breakup, we were approached by a private equity firm. They'd been tracking our growth quietly, the way serious money always does. Never obvious, never rushed. They liked our model, liked our margins, liked the fact that we'd scaled fast without imploding. They wanted to talk. We met in a glass-walled conference room that looked like it had been designed to intimidate people into underpricing themselves. My business partner was excited, already mentally spending money we didn't technically have yet. They made an offer. Not generational wealth, not never think about money again wealth, but close enough to change everything. My partner wanted to sell. I didn't. I'd spent too long being evaluated by other people's standards to hand over control the moment it got uncomfortable. We compromised. They took a minority stake, 30% equity. We kept control. I got enough liquidity to never worry about rent, healthcare, or saying no to the wrong opportunity again. The deal closed almost exactly 1 year after the breakup. My parents cried when I told them the numbers. My father, who'd taught high school history for 35 years, just shook his head and said he was proud of me. I bought a house. Nothing ostentatious. Good neighborhood. Room for a home office. A garage big enough for the car I'd always wanted but never justified. I wasn't proving anything. I was just breathing easier. I stopped checking social media entirely. Stopped asking mutual friends about Daniel. Stopped caring whether his family thought I'd made it. Around month 14, I got invited to speak on a panel at an industry conference. Someone had written a case study about our work with that first manufacturing client. The organizers wanted me to talk about operational transformation, how to rebuild systems under pressure. The conference was in the same city where Daniel lived, where his family was based. I almost declined, but my partner convinced me it was good exposure, good for the firm. I flew in 2 days early, prepped my remarks. The panel went better than expected. Afterward, people approached me. Questions, business cards, real interest. I was mid-conversation when someone called my name. An old acquaintance, someone I'd met through Daniel. Friendly enough back then, definitely not neutral after the breakup. "I didn't know you'd be speaking here," he said, surprised. "What are you doing now?" I gave him the short version. The firm, the growth, the investment. I watched his expression change. Polite curiosity to genuine respect. "That's incredible," he said. "I had no idea you were doing so well." "I don't advertise," I replied. That night, there was a reception at a downtown hotel. I almost skipped it, but I went. Industry people mixed with local business leaders. I worked the room, productive conversations, potential collaborations, and then I saw them. Daniel's family. His father, his brother, people from their social circle, expensive clothes, confident laughter. That same unshakable certainty that their judgment was correct. They hadn't seen me yet. I watched his father talking animatedly to someone, gesturing the way men do when they believe they're still the smartest person in the room. I turned away, left through a side exit, sat in my car for 10 minutes just breathing. I told myself that was the end of it. A week later, my partner forwarded me an email. Someone from that reception had recommended us for a major project, a regional manufacturing consortium, 7-figure budget, reputation-defining work. "It's based in Daniel's city," my partner said carefully. "Are you okay with that?" I thought about it, about old wounds, about avoiding places because of people who no longer mattered. "I'm fine," I said. "Let's pursue it." We won the contract. 2 months into the project, I was at dinner with the consortium's director. He mentioned he sat on the board of a local business organization. "Daniel's father used to be involved," he said casually. "Stepped back recently. Family issues, I hear." I didn't ask for details, but the words stayed with me. 2 weeks later, at a networking lunch, I walked in and froze. Daniel was there. He looked different, thinner, tired. His suit was expensive, but it wore him like armor instead of confidence. I turned to leave, but the host spotted me and waved me over, right near where Daniel stood. I joined the conversation. Professional, detached. Someone asked about our growth strategy. I answered calmly. Then someone in Daniel's group mentioned needing operational consulting. The host smiled. "You should talk to her. Her firm is doing incredible work." Daniel turned. Our eyes met for the first time in nearly 2 years. His face went pale. He opened his mouth, closed it. I kept talking, answered questions, handed out my card, treated him like a stranger. He excused himself after 2 minutes. I watched his hands shake as he set down his drink. The host leaned in. "That was awkward. You two know each other?" "Used to," I said. "Well," the host added, lowering his voice, "his wife works in finance. Family had very specific expectations. I hear they're having challenges." I nodded, changed the subject. I didn't feel vindicated, just distant. I didn't hear from Daniel directly after that, but I started hearing about him, through the network, through mutual acquaintances who didn't realize how carefully I curated my distance now. He'd been asking about me, what I was doing, how I was, whether I was seeing anyone. Quiet questions, framed as casual curiosity. One friend called me outright. "He wants your number," she said. "Says he'd like to talk." "Tell him no," I replied, "and don't pass along messages." "He says he needs closure." "He got closure 2 years ago," I said, "when he chose his family over me." She agreed and dropped it. He didn't. He started showing up at events where he knew I'd be, standing nearby, clearly hoping for eye contact, for an opening. I stayed on the opposite side of rooms, left early, made it clear without saying a word. Then, 4 months into the consortium project, my partner called me. "Someone wants to hire us for a family business consultation," he said. You're not going to like who? It was Daniel's family. Their real estate company wanted an operational review. Good money. Clean scope. Professional on paper. This feels like a setup, my partner said. The timing's too convenient. It probably is, I said. Decline it. He did, politely, cited capacity. A follow-up call came anyway, this time from Daniel's father. My partner took it, listened, declined again. When he held firm, the man asked whether personal feelings were interfering with business decisions. What did you say? I asked. That we don't take on clients where prior personal relationships could complicate the work, my partner replied. He didn't like that. Neither did I. A week later, I got an email. Not to my personal address. Daniel didn't have that anymore. To my work email. Public. Intentional. I know you don't want to hear from me. I understand why. But leaving you was the biggest mistake of my life. I chose security over happiness, and I've regretted it every day. I don't expect forgiveness. I just needed you to know you were right, and I was wrong. I read it 3 times. Felt vindication, sadness, and something close to nothing. I deleted it without responding. He tried twice more. Once through another mutual friend, whom I shut down immediately. Once by showing up at a coffee shop near my hotel when I was in town for the project. I saw him walk in, saw recognition hit his face. I stood up and left before he reached my table. The final email came a week later. Watching you succeed has been harder than losing you, because now I understand what I gave up. I hope you're happy. You deserve it. This time I replied with one line. I hope you find what you're looking for, but you won't find it looking backward. Then I blocked his email address. The consortium project wrapped successfully. We received 3 more referrals from it. Our firm's reputation in the region solidified. Bigger projects followed, more complex ones. 6 months later, I heard, through the same distant network, that Daniel had filed for divorce, that his family was furious, that his wife's family was threatening legal action over a prenup dispute. I felt nothing. Not satisfaction, not relief, just acknowledgement. My partner asked if I wanted to avoid that city in the future. No, I said. Why would I? I was seeing someone by then. Not a rebound, not a distraction. Her name was Rachel. She was a CFO for one of our clients. Smart, direct, built her career without shortcuts. We'd been dating 4 months. Easy, in a way my previous relationship never was. No evaluation, no proving, no audience. I told her the whole story early on. Not as a warning, just context. Do you ever wonder what would have happened if he'd chosen you? She asked once. Sometimes, I admitted, but I think we would have struggled. His family's pressure wouldn't have stopped. He wasn't strong enough to fully separate from it. She nodded. That matters. It does, I said. Love isn't enough if someone else gets veto power over your life. She kissed me. Good answer. Last month, I gave a keynote at a conference. After the talk, someone asked about overcoming early career rejection. I told the truth. I spent years with someone whose family didn't think I was good enough, I said. It hurt, but it motivated me to build something that proved their metrics for worth were flawed. The room responded. I heard later Daniel was in the audience, that he cried, that he left immediately after. I didn't ask for details. At another event weeks later, his father approached me after my presentation. Impressive work, he said. I may have misjudged your potential. I looked at him. I appreciate you saying that, I replied. But your judgment doesn't define me. It never did. He nodded stiffly and walked away. I felt absolutely nothing. That's how I knew I'd moved on. Not when I stopped thinking about Daniel. Not when I succeeded professionally. But when the people who dismissed me became irrelevant to my sense of self-worth. He chose security and approval. I chose dignity and autonomy. We both live with those choices. And I'd make mine again, without hesitation.